Welcome, everybody, to the Digital Nomad Experts Podcast by Commute. Today, we are going to talk about the 7 most common jobs digital nomads actually do. And I say actually do because Marissa and I have scoured all kinds of articles online. We've done all of our own research, and you're going to find a lot of strange stuff on the web that we don't necessarily agree with. So we looked at these lists and we compared them with what we've actually seen in our community of over, 1,200 people, something like that. We've been traveling for a combined, I think, 14 years. And some of these things, frankly, we just disagree with. And I think we actually might create a podcast that debunks some of these jobs that we don't actually see in the wild as digital nomads. That's for a later day, but today we're just going to talk about the 7 most common jobs and the salaries that you can probably expect for people that are actually digital nomads. And we'll give you some anecdotes with some people that we've seen actually working these jobs, what it's like for them, and all that kind of stuff. So with that, Marissa, how's it going?
It's going well. Today is Halloween when Jeff and I are recording this, so you'll probably listen to this a week later, but we've got all the spooky vibes. And Jeff, I know you are in the heart of all things, not quite Halloween, but Dia de los Muertos in Mexico. So I know that actually happens today after Halloween and the day after that, but you've said, so you're in Oaxaca City, and you just said like all week it's been lots of fun parades and celebrations. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll jump into the good job stuff.
Yeah, I thought it would be like a structured, like Halloween, like it's this day.
Yeah.
And you kind of know what's going to happen. There is a schedule of events, but it's massive and it goes for like 10 days straight, which I didn't know. There's something going on.
I didn't know it was that many days.
Yeah, there's something going on every single day. And you have to scour around the internet and just you see posters all over the place. I've actually seen painted murals on the sides of walls in the street with event planning and maps of where parades are gonna go.
Wow, that's cool.
An entire parade map was painted on a wall just for one day. So you're gonna find information all over the place. But what's really fun about it is over the last week or so, I've seen this place completely transform. So it was kind of like nothing going. It's just normal Oaxaca, beautiful colors and everything. And then all of a sudden, there's flower decorations all over the streets. All of a sudden, there's stringers across the streets with all these different color themes and stuff. There are ofrendas popping up all over the place. We were walking down the street, and there's just kind of nothing like a normal street one week. The next week, it's completely covered with this huge tent, and it's an entire market. Like there's a long 200 yards, 300 yards of just enormous markets. So
markets specifically for offerings and Day of the Dead stuff, or just random pop-up food and things like that?
Everything. That
I love Mexico.
And everything else. Yeah, just it's almost like these tiny mini cities just keep popping up in the middle of nowhere. Like you just turn your back 1 second, turn back around, and all of a sudden there's a new market or a new little mini area that people have created. Or a new ofrenda. But I think the most striking thing is the colors. There's just a massive, whether they're just decorating everything with flowers, usually these combinations of orange and purples. It's just really, really pretty and striking. But they're everywhere. Everywhere you walk, it's just it feels so alive and so passionate.
Yeah, and you're in the heart of it, which is cool. And we said this thing in the last episode, but I like to spell this out for people because I know every time we say Oaxaca, people are like, what are you talking about? Where is this? But it's Oaxaca. You're in Oaxaca City. It's a place in Mexico. And when you and Diego and I were chatting, I think this was yesterday, I can't remember, I was saying to you, it's so neat as a digital nomad when you can get to go experience these different festivals, holidays, real local traditions in the places that they were created. So if I think about Halloween in the US, I feel like it's just become a Hallmark candy holiday. We don't even really know why we're celebrating it. It's just sort of that one evening. But when you go to Mexico and you really get to experience Day of the Dead, and like you said, the week, if you just had normal vacation, you would have had to spend almost your entire, typical US vacation to experience everything that you're experiencing while you're just working during the day. And then in the evenings or your lunch break or, when you're just out and about exercising or walking the streets, whatever it is, you're really experiencing like the most local traditions and cultures from people, for Mexican traditions, it's like they are celebrating their ancestors. It's like the day their ancestors are there and present for them. And you get to feel that instead of, I think, just the watered down experience that the rest of us have all over the world for this particular holiday, right? And I think the cool thing, this is one of those sort of unexpected digital nomad benefits, is like you can choose, you could go a different month to a different country that has some different local celebration and really get to experience it. So this is just one example, and I love that you're so deeply experiencing this one.
Yeah, I would have never, if I was just here on vacation, I would have never seen the evolution of the city over the last week or so. You would have gone on Airbnb experiences, and sometimes they're good, but also sometimes it's just like you're going to get a very non-cultural thing, and you might get some there's some things here that people can do that are like a little questionable. Like there's the graveyard walk tours, and it's like, you have to be here to really experience like what is an appropriate thing to do? Like, where's the balance of getting the culture and having some fun? It's like, you really only get that by living in a place for enough time as a digital nomad. So it's been really cool. It's hectic. There's so many people here. There's now 55 people in the chat. It's like,
of our digital nomad friends, you mean?
Yeah.
I thought you meant just like people in the city. Yeah,
there's some people that
that you personally know.
Most of them. Yeah. So there's more for sure. Yeah. And
that's cool. I want to just stop for a second and say like 55 people. I want like that to sink in for someone who's maybe never lived digital nomad life, never traveling. So, I mean, there's thousands of people in this town, in the city where you are, but there's 55 people, and I've seen the pictures of the group there. I probably know 25 plus of those, maybe more. But these are like real digital nomads that Jeff and I know who are just doing real jobs, real normal people, like doing their careers throughout the day and traveling, and just decided to be in this destination where you are for the month. So like that's a crazy thing.
I know, it's pretty wild. And the amount of people are going out a lot. Like I feel like how much do you go out during like normal weeks when you're traveling? Are you like a dinner or two, or are you going out like every single night?
I suppose it depends where I am and what country and how many people are around me. Like when I was just in Mexico, I was there for a limited time with a bunch of friends. So I feel like every night I was like, all right, where are we meeting? Where are we going? Because I wanted to get the most out of it. But I mean, I don't want to do that. Typically, I want it to be a normal, it should be our normal life. So I would say, maybe
that's what I strive for.
1, 2, 3 times a week if I can help it, but sometimes more.
That's what I strive for too. There's people coming in last night at 2:30 a.m. on a Monday. I'm like, okay, I can't hang with that anymore. We try to talk about sustainability, and that's not for me. Everybody's got their own brand. Everyone's got their own thing. But like,
and it's hard because we say it's like a one-off experience. But if you're going somewhere new every month, and every month is a one-off experience, this is where we talked about, I think, last episode as well. It's like you got to learn to say no, and it's really hard, but it's also fun, and it is these once in a lifetime. Well, I say they're not really once in a lifetime experiences. Like I've also done this Day of the Dead in Mexico. Like you could do it next year again if you wanted. I think that's also the cool thing with nomad life. The typical once in a lifetime experiences for most people are like every month for you. You get to choose. So anyway, with that, Jeff, let's talk about the 7 jobs that we see most commonly in our digital nomad experience, in our community, that's maybe not necessarily the same as you might read in the blog post. But if you're listening and you want to become a digital nomad, so you can go to the Day of the Dead experiences in Mexico or wherever you choose to go in the world, you might be wondering, like, what jobs can I do remotely? And Diego and I think did an episode or two of 19 of the most unusual jobs digital nomads we've seen. So search around. These are not, when we say these 7, I want to preface to say, these are absolutely not the only jobs that you can do as a digital nomad. But people do like to hear, like, what are people commonly doing? Like, what is something, if you hear, that you might be drawn to? So if one of these 7 calls to you, then awesome. You might have an easier time of just finding those and talking about it because they're more of the typical role. But these are I just want to say you're not limited to these 7 jobs if you want to live as a nomad. Yeah.
It's just what we run into.
So with that, we'll run through the list of 7. I'm going to share what the kind of common job is, maybe a couple different roles within that. And then Jeff is also going to chime in. He's great with the statistics and the data and the research, which I love. I love the more qualitative. Jeff is the more quantitative. So he'll share some of the information about like years of experience, type of salary, that sort of thing. So number 1, we can't talk about this without talking about marketing. Good old marketing. And it's fun because Jeff, Diego, and I actually all have marketing backgrounds as well from way back when and some of our corporate days. And I think what's fun about marketing is there's so many different marketing roles. So I'm going to just kind of offhandedly name a few of those. And again, within this, it's not even limited, but you can do different things. You have content marketing, social media marketing. You can do SEO, like Jeff is an expert. Email marketing, there's marketing analytics, there's PR subsets, you can do brand partnerships, brand marketing, e-commerce, product marketing, marketing strategy. Like there's so much within this. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why marketing tends to be like the number 1 most common job that we really see across the board, because there's so many different like subsets of marketing that kind of all roll into one. But what are your thoughts and any numbers you want to share with marketing?
Yeah, the fun part about it is like marketing is really it's synonymous with digital marketing at this point. Like there's still some old traditional types of marketing out there, billboard advertising and like direct mail stuff, but it's really everything's moving in the direction of digital marketing, and there's so many different facets of it that you can do. All those things that you said, and just about all of those can be done online, which is really cool. And that's why it's such a popular job. It's because all these things can be done online. You can do async, just about everything. Asynchronous, basically, you can working through chat, WhatsApp, Google Chat, Skype, whatever system they're using. It all works like pretty well for marketing. And so like we can give you a range of salaries, but it really, really depends on which discipline you get into. So if you just Google what does the median quote unquote digital marketer make, so this is like a digital marketing generalist, right? Working remote. It's the median is $114,000 per year. Now that completely can change based on your experience, and it will change based on your experience. Like if you're entry level, it's going to be way, way lower. If you're more of like director, VP level, could even be higher than that. So it's all over the place. But the gist is that type of career can be very lucrative. And it generally across the board, when you're looking at a lot of digital nomad jobs, that tends to be, from what I've seen, a little bit on the higher end. People can make pretty decent careers for themselves.
That's a pretty high median number. And like you said, it's skewed. If you're just entering, it might be, you could do $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, right? If you're way, way high up, you could be making 200 plus. We have some marketers in our Nomad Career Accelerator that are making over 200K, right? So there really is a huge range that it can be. But that's a pretty high median, I would say. And so, maybe that's why a lot of people there's so many different opportunities, and you can get paid well to do it, because literally every company needs marketing. So it's a commonly needed job as well. And there's always demand for it.
And typically what we see in terms of background, most of the marketers I've met, it's just going to be anecdotal, like for myself and for the people I've seen, but typically the marketers I've seen got a bachelor's degree in like business admin, sometimes with an emphasis in marketing, but they can come from a lot of different backgrounds. Yeah, they can come from a lot of backgrounds. Like I hired people in content marketing strategy who had English backgrounds, writing backgrounds. So they can come from all areas of the world. But typically, I think that's generally the vein that they come out of.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, especially with like when we say, quote, digital marketing, because the digital landscape changes so quickly now. I would say like a traditional business background, yes, it helps in some ways, but your knowledge of just interacting and using these different social media landscapes and your interaction of knowing the trends and what's happening is almost more important. Like I remember, this is way back when I was in college, but my senior year, I took a digital marketing class, and we had some professor who was like, this was one of my least favorite marketing classes that I took, because he was trying to teach us things that like we knew better than he did. He was like, here's how you use social media. And he's like, 30 years older than us. We're like, you don't know anything. Like, and it changes month to month, year to year, week to week even. So I think it's kind of neat that you don't necessarily need that super traditional business background. If you are someone who loves trends and using, interacting with all the digital social media like landscape, you might know more than someone who has studied business or marketing for some respects, right? Like there's different places you can play, but it's important to know, like, if you have an interest, you don't need a traditional background in order to get into this.
Yeah, totally true. I actually wrote a piece a couple years ago on the trends in digital marketing. I was curious. I looked back on the current textbook that they're teaching for business
like you
for
couldn't
business
even
marketing.
have a textbook because it changes it. Yeah.
And I just looked up the chapter list of everything. There was half of one chapter dedicated to digital marketing in it.
Yeah.
And I just reflected back. I thought, looking at what I actually did when I got into marketing versus what I learned, nothing.
Right.
There was no crossover, zero crossover.
Yeah.
It was straight into digital marketing, and there was nothing that they taught me in college so I actually was pretty much self-taught and learned like on the job. So yeah it's you can come in and learn more than your professor in a quick in a short
and
amount
I will
of time.
say there are a few things that I still use from my marketing like college days that I did learn, but I would say maybe that's 10% and 90% is things that I've just learned on the job and in life and
that checks
so
out.
on. So okay, number 2 is kind of classified as, we'll call it writing. But there's a lot that can fall within this. So if you hear like if I think back to myself, a decade ago, if someone told me like, oh, I'm a writer, I would be like, oh, you write novels? Like you write books? Like what do you do? So yes, that still exists. I can think of one person off the top of my head that we know personally who writes novels, and she sort of does it on the side, not as her main role. But we do actually have a ton of friends, a ton of digital nomads in our community that we've seen and have known who work as writers. So you might wonder, like, what kind of writing are they doing if it's not writing a novel? So there's lots of blog content writers, different email copywriting, editing, different technical writers about specific topics. Maybe you're a technical writer about a medical field or about cryptocurrency or something like that. I did come across and traveled with someone who worked as a script writer. So there are many, lots of different things that you can do. What are your immediate thoughts as we sort of share this, Jeff?
Yeah, right off the top of my head, I just think I've met a lot of writers traveling. This one checks out.
Many. Yes.
In my experience, as being a very common job to do.
Yeah.
And the beauty in that is the freedom with that. It's such independent work, and it doesn't require like really strong internet. It doesn't require a whole lot of meetings. Doesn't require you to be present on location. Like it's the closest that I can think of to another job that we're going to talk about coming up soon, which you already know. It's close to offline activities you need. So that really frees you up for locations. It frees you up for like time, how you invest your time independently. So it's there's a reason why it's such a common job, and also it works really well for people working within companies as well as freelancers. I see a lot of people who are freelancers as writers as well, and they're very, very successful at it. Oh yeah, so let's salary again. I've got to caveat a lot of these and say like it's going to really, really depend on your experience level and the type of copywriting you're doing. Like, for example, somebody doing like a very special, like niche technical copywriting, you're going to make more money just because you've niched down and you're specialized in a particular area. So there's going to be a wide range. But if you were to look up an intermediate copywriter, so that's somebody that has 2+ years of experience working remote, the median salary is $70,200 per year. So again, pretty healthy.
That actually is surprising. I would think that the median would be a little bit lower than that, actually. So that's
I would too.
Cool to hear. Yeah, interesting. And again, this is a range. And I know there's someone in one of our programs who's a writer with Beach Commute, and she's making like healthy 100+ K per year. So yeah, there's lots of different options within it. I want to ask you this, Jeff, because I feel like you have a fun opinion on it. If someone's listening to this and might be thinking like, okay, I hear you, maybe people have been doing all this writing stuff for years and they've needed all this content, but now AI has come into the picture and is writing all these things for us. I have thoughts on this as well, but I want to hear yours. Should people who are thinking like, maybe I want to get into writing, be concerned about AI taking over this job in the future? Where does that play in your opinion?
I think what it's going to do, and I'm going to have a little bit of an SEO skew to things because that's just the area that I work in. I'm going to say that it will cause some problems on the lower end of writers. So people that haven't really specialized quite as much, a little bit more of the super generalized types of writers, because new clients are going to have it in their mind where they're doing a cost comparison and be like, well, I can hit a button and 1,500 words can pour right out. And it's not a super specific topic, so I'm not too worried about the factual stuff. I will say that's going to catch up with them. So like putting copy on a website, just copy and pasting it, you can tell like it's just not as good. SEO standpoint, it can tell, and it's not going to perform as well.
And SEO, I just want to say, is search engine optimization for someone who may not know what that stands
thank
for.
you. Yeah, search engine optimization. Google can tell, and it's not gonna perform as well as if a human wrote it. So a good rule of thumb in my space, content marketing, digital marketing, SEO, is that it's AI generated content is never going to perform as well, and that's especially true in the more niche, specialized types of areas. That's really, really true. So if you are a copywriter and you're starting to specialize, I'd say you're very, very safe. But if we're talking about what you call a content mill, so content mill is kind of like an old expression for a content creation agency that just does volume, pumps out a lot of generic volume. They've got trouble because that is very, very similar to ChatGPT content. So if there's any advice I have, it's like, write more thorough, more advanced, more niche type of content. And no, I don't see there being much competition now or in the future. I don't think it's going to take over that spot. What are your thoughts on it?
I love that. Yeah, I have less of like that SEO specific background, and also just think about a lot of the email copywriting that we do where, you think about all the emails we send for Beach Commute, like our own personal stories as we're hiring people to write for Beach Commute. It's like we want real content, real experience. And if you just have ChatGPT or AI that's just pulling from the web, you really don't get, you get generic things that aren't very helpful. So as I think about this as a career, like you said, one strategy is to become an expert on something that you really needs your opinion and your niche answers and knowledge. But the other part is really just learning how to work with AI, right? So maybe if you are doing copywriting or more general stuff, instead of thinking about AI as your competition, I like to say, how can I use it to say hey, how can I learn how to use AI to get me started of something that maybe would take me 3 hours to do, and that's done in 10 seconds. And then I know how to edit it or say this part sounds generic. Let me re-ask the right question. So almost learning how to work with AI prompts and use AI as your friend. So if you can become the expert in using it to your advantage and adding your writing expertise and knowledge and help on top of it, I think that's where the magic happens. So I don't think writing as a career and as a digital nomad career is going to go away, but it will change and evolve. And it's almost like you don't want to become obsolete. You don't want to become the Blockbuster of writing. You want to evolve like Netflix did, right? So kind of evolve with the times, learn how to use these tools as your friend and how to stand out. And when you go to interview with companies or talk about it, say, hey, I can save time and I'll use this, but here's what you're going to get on top of that. So that's sort of my general opinion of that as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Yeah, cool. I think use it to augment your skill set rather than to replace. I think we're gonna see that across a lot of disciplines, not just writing.
So true.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, number 3. We don't send many emails out about this one so far, or talk about it as much, because sometimes it does involve a little bit of background training more than some of these other jobs. But number 3, the bulk sort of label we'll give it is design. So this might be what we call UI design, which is user interface of websites and things like that. UX design, which is navigating the user's experience. So if you go into a website or an app of like, does it flow correctly, things like that, different website design, logos and branding, product design, graphic design. So some of this, again, we haven't shared as many roles. There are always so many that we see. These are always needed. But they do take a little bit of, not anyone can just say like, oh, I think I'm going to be a, UX designer, because you have to learn like what is the user experience? Like, what are the tools? What are the pathways that people are doing? So it takes a little bit of, it doesn't have to be like formal education and like $100,000, college or anything like that. But it might take some courses, some time, some investment to learn. But people who love this field, like, really love it. So I can't even count the number of different UX, UI, graphic, logo, like different design, website, WordPress designers that we have met, our friends, traveled with, all of these things. With that, I think it's also an interesting topic with AI coming in, where especially if I think about graphic design, for example, if someone needs a new logo design, something that really would take a designer 5-6 years ago, you can just put into a website and like you get 100 logos pop up as different options designed by AI. So again, this field is changing, but there are still designers needed in all sorts of fields. So Jeff, I want to throw it over to you to talk about maybe what is still needed and what you've seen in your experience, and also any salary ranges and numbers you want to give us.
So I think what people don't quite understand about design it is incredibly complex. It is
yes.
It's not subjective, and that's where people go wrong. They think it's art, and reality there are rules behind everything. Why is the logo have that sharp edge at the corner of it? Well, that implies this plus this plus this, and you make these cues, make these connections. There's certain cues and triggers in design. Like if you're going to design in green, you're going to associate that if you're like in B2C with like a mint type of flavor, and you can't mix match cues, right? If it's like in business, it's going to have to do with probably money, right? So you actually have to know all of these things, and there are design rules. Like there's a reason why CTAs, calls to action, go in a very specific areas, because that's how eye tracking works, how we read left to right, bottom to. So there's a lot of psychological components that go into design that can't be recreated through AI. There are teachings and learnings, and it's not subjective like people think it is. Like there's a lot of things that go into it, a lot of schooling, a lot of experience that goes into it as well. So it's more than just, I don't want to take away from the art aspect, because these are very artistic people, and it's not something that my brain does. Like I don't get it. But it's a combination of art and training, and it really is an impressive career. I'm always very impressed with the graphic designers that we meet and that we work with, and all the things that they tell me about that I had no idea. Well, this won't work because of this and this and this and this, and that's the wrong size because of this, all that kind of stuff. So very, very cool career. Generally, the graphic designers that I meet, it's kind of like a mixed batch. Like some people are self-taught, just kind of got into it and just like, I'm just going to explore my own. Other people that I meet are like trained. They've gone to school for it. So I see it across the board, but the salary range again can vary when we're looking at this list that we're talking about a lot, because you can get like design directors at the very, very top who tell all the graphic designers what to do and design the brand. And then I've seen them make almost $200K a year. And then I've seen people that are just do pure graphic design, give me a task and I go do it, and they make far less, of course, because their experience is not as high. But if you were to take graphic designer working remote, the average salary is $56K per year.
Interesting. Again, that one's like low. It's funny how these are stacking up. But yeah, this also is another good one that is good for the actual nomad life logistics, where you're sometimes on calls with people every now and then, but a lot of your ongoing work is going to be just doing solo work on your computer, creating these things, looking at these things, depending on what kind of design you do. But we also have UX designers who I know who are like on calls all day, every day with clients and their companies and talking. So it can really depend. But yeah, definitely there's a range with everything. I know everyone likes to know like what's the median salary, but it really depends on your years of experience, how long you've been doing it, your knowledge, your skills, and all of that. So anything else with design to add before we move on?
If I said anything else, I'd be getting into territory. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Perfect. We love you, designers. We love to work with you because it is not our, I have opinions, I have some knowledge, but yeah, it's not our full expertise. And it really does take some cool minds and expertise that are very different than our own. So with that, before we hop into number 4, if you haven't already done so, if you wouldn't mind, open your phone if you're listening there and give us a review. It really helps other people to find the podcast. The podcast keeps growing thanks to you, our wonderful listeners. And the more you share, the more you give reviews, the more we can keep sharing and resources that honestly we can bring to you. It really helps. So give us a thumbs up, a 5-star, a comment, any questions you have, any topics you want us to talk about, what you love about the podcast. We really love to hear it. We read all of them. Jeff gets really excited anytime there's a new review and will share it with us. So we want to thank you for that. So with that, let's hop into number 4. Yeah. Number 4 on the list is call it either customer support, or most oftenly people now are calling it customer success. So this can have a range of different roles. You might think of it as an old school way, as someone who's like the call center, receiving all the calls and complaints and things like that. That's just one little small part of it. Now it's become more digital, where you might be responding to customer service emails, customer service inquiries, or for a company that maybe has big clients, you might be there to help them if anything goes wrong, if they're trying to use your products. Like, it can really be a big range of things. But this is great if you're someone who is good with people, you have a lot of patience, you can understand where someone's coming from, you don't get heated really quickly. Jeff, this might not be the role for you.
Whoa, personal attack.
Taking personal attacks. I love that. I love that about you. But yeah, there's tons of different roles. So any color you want to give to this one, Jeff?
Yeah, this one, actually, the first time I actually saw that title, customer experience, I think it was customer experience director, or
okay.
There's also customer experience officer. So you can go all the way up to the chief experience officer. So you can go all the way up to the C-suite with this thing. First experience I had with it was at a digital marketing agency, and they were basically in charge of making sure clients were happy. And what that translated to was most of the time they dealt with the unhappy customers. They're not dealing with the happy, and they do things to make them happy. So like you said, requires a lot of patience and a lot of, it's kind of like therapy for clients. And some people are very, very,
I love that. I would love to
good
do
at
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are very, very good at that. And just like the other ones, if you go all the way up to the C-suite, you can make a ton of money. But if you start off as like kind of like the account manager type, you deal with customers to make sure that they're having a successful experience. The median range, I got a range on this one. You can, because there's a lot of different statistics out there. What I saw was between 86 to 104K per year. So that's pretty well paying. And that kind of makes sense because customer experience, that's about retaining revenue and is really, really important to companies. So as you're doing this, you are providing a ton of value because you're maintaining revenue. And then beyond that, you've got your reputation. You're also largely responsible for how do people feel about your brand in the market. Yeah, so there's a lot to it. It's the worst job in the world for me. I started off as a account manager, which was kind of like a twin to that same type of job. And I was not good at it. It's just not a fit.
So my
it's
personal
kind of a personality
attack on
fit
you was
job.
Accurate, huh?
No, it was right. It was right. Just had to call you out on it. Yeah, just not a fit for my. It's kind of one of the more personality fit types of jobs.
Yeah.
So
and I think that's can be a benefit. So if it does fit your personality and what you enjoy doing in this world, you don't need as much of that technical training or school, education in order to do it. So I think potentially that's why it's a popular one as well, because it can be done remotely, right? You're talking to customers remotely or clients, but also you don't necessarily need a ton of experience, but you do need those inherent soft skills. And we talk about this a lot. I do a lot with my career coaching and a lot of career clarity that I do. People really often underestimate, like if you're someone who's just, like you said, you're softer, you can listen, you're good at being patient and talking to people. a lot of times you don't think about that as like a really important business or career skill because it's just something naturally that you have. You didn't necessarily train or get educated to do that, but it is so needed in so many different career types that businesses really value. So if it sounds like you, this could be a cool way to do. And I can't remember what episode number it was. You interviewed our friend Lori. I think she's a really good example of someone who's like she works at Khan Academy and has been working for, I can't remember, it's like close to a decade, maybe not quite that long, for the same company, and has risen and within the company and she leads like the whole customer support success community team for this company. So there really is a range of like, you can be the one responding directly to those inquiries, or you can really, like you said, get up to that C-suite level and lead the whole team. And it really is important for companies. So if this might be a cool one for you.
All right. What do we got next on the list?
Okay, number 5 is project management. So this one, I feel like I don't see as many of these, but it is a popular one. I'm curious if you, like, I just can't think of many of our personal friends, but I know it's a popular role, always comes up on the list. It always comes up as jobs that people really like doing as well. Maybe because it's typically in like bigger companies often needs these sort of like project management, project manager roles. But you could do it across any industry you might need it. Engineering, financial services, different IT, healthcare, software development, marketing. Everyone needs project managers when you get to these really big scaled size businesses. And I think about my time when I worked at Pepsi. We were launching like huge, new products or packaging or marketing campaigns. And we had a project manager who would literally like keep track of all the different moving parts of it and say like, okay, you need to do this by this time. Like, okay, this is due in 2 weeks. Like, are you close to it? Like, it needs to get done. So if you're someone who is hyper organized and you really love like tasks and timelines and to-do lists and deadlines, this could be a cool role for you. And it really is needed across many different companies and industries. So any thoughts on this one, Jeff?
Yeah, this one I've worked with them quite a bit, having worked at content marketing agencies, just so many different projects in various stages, communicating with clients, chasing down clients and chasing down the creatives, right? It requires an immense amount of organization. So again, in the last one where I talked about like personality fit for the job, I also think that this one probably has some aspects of needed personality fit. So if you're a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Creative, kind of head in the clouds type.
This is not for you.
Not for you. No. But if you're like super, super detail oriented, you like checking boxes, got it done, done, and organization, it's perfect for you because that's basically all it is. You're the organizer. You're herding cats and you're getting things done. And so if you get that satisfaction of, yes, we got this thing done, could be a good thing for you. And these folks can actually, this one surprised me. These folks can actually make a decent amount of money. I was seeing salary ranges between $94K to $98K to $110K. So it can be pretty lucrative for people. As opposed to the other ones we just talked about, I don't know that there are like higher positions like director, project managers, or chief, anything in the C-suite. I don't know what that rolls into as you get more experience. And from what I've seen, most people are project managers, and that's what they like to do. And typically they don't move into. What have you seen?
That's actually a really good point. I've had the same experience as well. And it's interesting because I feel like there's a camp of people who are really looking for career growth their whole life and higher salaries and higher this and next role and next promotion. And there's other people who are just like, you know what? I want to work to live, not live to work. And this is to me kind of one of those roles. Not to say I'm sure there are, opportunities, but I actually have seen the same thing as you, where it's like once you kind of get into it, you sort of stick around the same level, but you continue it's like you do your job, you're good at it, you're naturally good at it, you can do it, and then you go out and you live the rest of your life as well. So I don't know, it's an interesting one to think about. And if someone else, please correct us if we're wrong on this. This is based on my career experience, both in career coaching, working with lots of project managers in my time. But and it's not a bad thing in my opinion. Like some people are like, hey, I'm good. I've reached this level. I'm getting paid great. I'm getting paid well enough to do what I want to do. I want to get in, I want to do my job, and I want to get out. And this one is also great, kind of like customer success as well, where you said it's just sort of like an innate personality or natural skill if you're good at it or not. So project management, we have a lot of people at Beach Commute who really want to get into this because it doesn't take, again, specific education, specific school experience, or even necessarily really specific work experience. There's a lot of people, this is one of those ones that is really great for transferable skills. So if you want to get into this, even let's say you were, I don't know, let's say you could have been an accountant, you could have been a writer, you could have been a marketer. You're probably managing projects both within your job, your role, your life, your team. So as you're applying to these roles, it's really easy to explain that transferable experience and say, hey, I haven't been called a project manager necessarily, but like, let me tell you all the project management I've been doing in these other jobs, right? I had to make sure this happened. I had to make sure my team did this. I had to do that. So it's one that's easily switchable. Like you can switch into this type of career. And I think for that reason, it's probably one of the most popular, on our list of most popular digital nomad jobs because you can do it remotely. Lots of people are working remotely that it's even harder and more important to manage now. And it just takes kind of a personality, a natural, innate skill of just loving that to-do list, organization, timeline, deadline, tracking people down and loving that, right? Like it's some people, I would love that. I would be really good at this if I had gone into this. So yeah, I think that's like one of I feel like I do that for you and Diego, right? I'm like, all right, guys, here's the things, here's the times, here's what we're doing. And I enjoy it. Whereas I know
really good at it.
You two don't. So it is just something I think you either like or don't like, and there's nothing. All right. So kicking it off to number 6 then. I'm surprised this was number 6 on our list because I feel like, especially when I first started nomading, I feel like 50% of the people I met were doing this. And I don't know, maybe that was just like a weird sample size or that people happened to me, but this one is programming. So there's a lot that fits under this. It can be called different things. We've got software engineering, web development, mobile development, systems administration, different backend operations or DevOps, security. Like there's so much within this. I think about it as like all of our friends who are like doing coding on their computers and have all these screens with all like the numbers and slashes and dashes and I'm like, what does this mean? Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, I don't understand it. It's the Matrix. So yeah, share your experience, Jeff. Of like, I feel like we have so many friends who do this. But what's your experience with it?
I feel like that's the OG digital nomad job. It's like just seeing it over and over and over again. It's just like it fits the mold perfectly. Very very few calls. Not the internet speed isn't normally a factor because they're just not having many calls. They're using low internet, working independently, similar to the writer. Like this is really what they're getting paid for. They're just getting a job done, and that doesn't involve organization, doesn't involve like, necessarily working directly on calls with teams and stuff. It's very, very independent work. So I think there's a reason why it was one of the most popular jobs when we first started getting into these things, just because it's really conducive to this kind of lifestyle. I don't understand the first thing about it. I don't know what they're doing. Not a clue. Like when I see Kevin working next to me and he starts rambling about, like, I don't know what he's talking about. And it doesn't make sense to me that anybody understands this stuff. It's like,
me neither. It is so different than my brain.
Totally different language. I think it's incredible what they do. Their skill set is so in demand. Like I haven't met a programmer that can't find work. Never. And they work as freelancers. They work for their own companies. They get paid really... I don't agree with this average salary that I found.
What'd you find?
What I found, and I looked at a few different places, said the average is $93K per year. I don't think that's right. I think maybe that's a little bit more for people that have a little bit less experience in the field, because I know for a fact, like, these people can make $200K plus easily, especially if they're in IT. These IT folks are starting at $200K, I feel like.
Yeah, I can't think of any of our digital nomad friends working in this field who make under $100K. Like,
no.
And not even having talked to them specifically about their salaries, but you can just, you kind of know and can get a feel for our friends, how they spend their money, what they choose, where they're staying, and I don't know anyone who's making less than probably, I would say 120, 30, 40, 50, 60 plus
North,
in this
yeah.
sort of career. And there's always jobs for this. And curious your opinion, this one, Jeff, as well, as we talk about AI. There's lots that, ChatGPT, other different AI programs are going to be building out websites, doing this sort of work. What are your thoughts as it comes to this?
When I've talked directly with programmers about this, they're using AI like more than anybody else that we've talked about so far to augment their jobs. And it's just finding solutions to problems faster.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not using AI to write because everything is so customized to their specific whatever their build is. Like it's impossible. But if they run into a snag, I'll see them hop on ChatGPT or whatever and be like, oh, that just saved me like a couple hours. So it's, if anything, all I see that is making them more effective at their jobs and certainly not replacing it.
And real quick on this one as well, I think can also be a really popular option if you're thinking of like, if this type of work calls to you, if you're super, I don't even know exactly how to explain this natural skill set, but if you love like looking at numbers and like figuring, like if you can spend a whole day looking at a problem, like a puzzle, trying to figure out forever, like that sounds appealing to you, like maybe this is for you. But it's also great because while some people do have different computer science or other formal educations in college or beyond, you can really hop into this type of career from doing different boot camps. So usually it's around, call it like a 6-week boot camp. There's a whole range of what you want to pay in order to do that and learn that. But you can learn it. You can learn it for free as well. Like you could go on YouTube and do it yourself. But a lot of people like to do these official sort of like 6 to 10 week boot camp programs to train and learn and say like, I got certified by, this type of company or this program. And now I'm ready to work for you because I have this more of a certification, not like a formal degree or like college or bachelor education. So it's a good one. If it takes a little bit of time and money investment to get into it, but not like 2 years of time investment. So I think that's why it can also be a really great one to switch into if that calls to you. All right, we're bringing it home, number 7 on the list. And real quick, if you are interested in, we have a whole PDF that has each one of these and examples of all the different careers within them. So if you are like, if you're hearing this, if you're an audio person, you might be good. But if you're a visual person or want to have this, so you're like, wait, what was it they were talking about? Or to see all the examples, check out beachcommute.com/7jobs. That's the number 7 and the word jobs. And you can download this PDF that has lots of lists and details and all of the examples that fall within each of these categories as well, if that's helpful to you. So with that, number 7 on our list is the sort of HR recruiting field. We definitely have several friends I know personally and in our community who work in this field. So this might be something like different HR coordinators, different recruiting coordinators, recruiting specialists, payroll specialists, HR generalists, different trainers, anything else you want to add to different, friends or people you've seen or known, or the salary ranges that you found for this one.
Yeah, I've met quite a few, I guess you'd call them generalist recruiters. I've actually met a recruiter of recruiters.
I love that.
I guess would be the upper echelon of that.
Right,
and that was a €200 per year plus job. And he was doing so well. He's like, French guy. He's like, I'm just,
I love
for the next
person.
3 months, I'm in the mood for working 4 hours a day. And he would, and he'd just be like, I don't feel like working. I'm doing fine. I'm making his $200K and take some time off, go back into it. So like you can do really, really well. I had no idea as a recruiter you could do well. I thought recruiter was a recruiter, but that's absolutely not true. You can do it really well. And also, I've also met recruiters that, again, just working to live, not living to work type of thing, just like doing their 8 hours a day and calling it good and able to work online, because a lot of this is, again, phone calls, and it's a lot of tracking people down on LinkedIn and that kind of thing. So yeah, same thing, wide range. But if you end up like right in the middle, just a recruiter, your median salary is going to be $75,000 per year working remote. So
right.
really healthy. Yeah, you could have a really nice digital nomad life at $75,000 a year. Any other anecdotes on recruiting?
No, that's a good one. I think this one is good if you're someone who really enjoys talking to people, understanding what drives people, like why would someone want to come to this company or not, how to find talent, talk to talent, or just like get along with people, understand people. It's really like a people sort of role in many different aspects. So this one, again, is sort of a mixed bag between do you need experience or not. If you're coming to that entry level, it's definitely things that you can learn on the job, that people can teach you, that are trainable. There probably are some sort of like little certifications, but this is somewhat like, I think more so it takes a personality type, and then there's some specific like techniques and tactics and logistics and things that you can do need to know and learn along the way, depending on which part of HR you are in. So there's really it's kind of a range compared to some of the other jobs where you can find some entry-level ones, and you can also have a lot of really technical and specific experience. So that might call to you and see where you fit in there. But overall, that's our list of 7. We're so curious to know what you think of these. If you are interested, there's so many jobs we just named in here. And part of this, I know we were talking about the 7, but really there's like 10 to 15 roles within each of these 7 that we mentioned as well. So I love this episode because I hope, one, you can start to see like, oh, there's a lot of just real careers that people are doing, but also there's so many different opportunities. If you are saying like, I've always wanted to become a digital nomad, or I've always wanted the freedom and the flexibility to travel the world where I'm working, but I didn't know, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. This is a good place just to start expanding your mind and saying, like, did any one of these sound like something that you're more or less drawn to, right? Even as Jeff and I were talking, we're like, we'd love this one. We'd be really bad at that one or wouldn't like it. And hopefully you're hearing the same. So with that, your roles are not limited to these 7 or really like the 70. Like we probably just named off 70 different jobs that you can do while traveling the world. And there's also so many more obscure ones that we will continue to share over time and have done so as well. So the opportunities are endless. And I would say at Beach Commute, like what we love to share with you is that the opportunities are endless. Like, don't think you have to be a travel blogger, or what are some of the other like cliche things that like people say that, like you don't necessarily do.
Influencer, travel blogger, course seller, like all of the typical stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much to do. So any last words on your end, Jeff?
If you have any questions about these jobs or any job as a digital nomad, write us in, hello@beachcommute.com. Also, as you heard, we send out 2 digital nomad or remote jobs, fully remote jobs per week. If you hop on our email list, beachcommute.com/email, and you will get a newsletter from me and Marissa updating us on where we've been, where we are now, just thoughts on the digital nomad community and everything that's going on.
And we really do share it. We share our own personal travel pictures and photos. You really get a lot of different information.
My bad photos, to be clear.
Jeff's bad photos. I love your bad photos, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, any of them. It's kind of fun. Like you get our real travel life more in a different way than you get from on the podcast in this sort of like audio form of our photos and just what we're up to each week. So check it out. We love to reach you there. We love to talk to you here. If you have any podcast episodes that are on your mind, let us know. We love to take audience suggestions. And with that, happy Halloween a week late when you're listening to this. And Jeff will fill us in on more Day of the Dead activities probably the following week. And we'll see you then.
All right. We'll see you next week.